Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel at Let's Chat About You Today. Just as a quick reminder that this channel is about promoting indie authors whose voices are unheard, and it's an opportunity for these indie authors to talk about their work, to talk about the kind of people they are, their backgrounds, how they came to do their writing, and what it has actually done for them. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Steve Scarlett. Hello, Steve, and welcome.
Hello, Beth. Good morning.
Hi.
Afternoon.
Yes, it is good afternoon. Yes, it is. And Steve has written a novel. Would you say it's a fiction? It's a fiction
Oh,
novel.
it's definitely fiction. It's
Okay,
it's based on truth, but it's fiction,
okay.
definitely.
It's a fiction novel. And it's a topic that is actually very topical, and it is a recurring topic. So I don't want to go into the details just yet, because I'd like really to reintroduce Steve, to get him to tell us a bit about his background, which is unusual background again for the authors that I have normally chatted to on this channel. So Steve, let's chat about you today and tell me something about your vastly interesting background, please.
Okay, I'm 68 years old. I was born in the southeast of England in a town called Crowborough. I didn't particularly excel well at school, and if anything, English was probably my worst subject. I have, however, always enjoyed reading, and from an early age, I was picking up Enid Blyton, Famous Five, the Castle of Adventure type series,
Mm.
and I just read them avidly under the covers with a torch.
Yeah.
I left school at 16, and I joined the Royal Navy at the day after my 17th birthday. I spent 23 years in the Royal Navy, mainly on aircraft carriers or ships with flight decks. I spent time in Dubai. I was down the Falklands in 82. And I finished off at an arms control service in Lincolnshire.
Mhm.
And that plays quite an important part in how my story unfolded eventually. I got married in 85. I was married for 38 years. Unfortunately, my wife passed away in 2023. I have a daughter with two grandchildren that I take to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Mhm.
And I have a son who lives in Brighton. He works at the Eye Hospital in Brighton. I'm a member of the Royal British Legion. I attend their functions as and when required. I lay wreaths for either the Navy or the Merchant Navy as and when they occur. I'm also a member of the local youth club, or at least youth club for the over 55s.
I
I
love
just
that.
qualified, and we just had a Christmas party, hence my Christmas jumper.
Can we see your
So that's
jumper?
basically me up to date.
Maybe see your jumper, please.
Oh, you can't really see it. No, you can't, can you?
Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
I had boxers for many years.
Yes. I was going to ask you, do you still have a boxer dog?
No, I lost my last one in 17, but I look after my daughter's blue staffy.
Okay.
He's very needy and may well whine at the door in the next 20 minutes or so.
Okay. Well, let him come in if he does whine. That's perfectly fine. It's okay. Uh, so you have had a very long and a very interesting career. How much of that career of yours was in conflict zones?
Well, the Gulf was in 88. It wasn't the Gulf War as we knew it. It was the Armilla Patrol when Iran and Iraq were fighting over oil rights. They had a war between, I think it was 1980, and it finished in 88. So I was out there right towards the end. But this was when they were sending out patrol boats with rocket propelled grenade launchers, and they were sinking tankers. So the Royal Navy was out there as a safety measure to ensure that any of British interests were not damaged and
Hmm.
that our oil could get through. So that was a conflict zone. And again, I also went to the Falklands in 82. I left the UK on the 9th of April, I think it was, not long after the rest of the Armada had sailed.
Well, okay, okay. So being in that conflict zone, I can presume, as a latent writer at the time, would any of that those events that you were witness to, would they have sat with you in your mind, gathering
Um, not
quietly?
not specifically. No, not specifically for this story. Although, to give a spoiler away, the protagonist Angie in my novel does eventually work her way to Dubai. And as I knew Dubai quite well, that came into it. The protagonist's father was also went to the Falklands, and so those aspects of it
Hmm.
came out of my life. So there are parts of it that I can relate to.
Hmm. Okay. So, how did you come to write your very first novel?
Okay,
And
now
can you also remind us of the name of the novel?
the name of the novel is The Chain Diaries.
Okay.
They are specifically named after the chain murders of Iran, and that's a Wikipedia Google item that you can search on. It's
Hmm.
a series of murders that occurred between 1986 and 1998. And the subheading of my book, although it's not on the book itself, but
Hmm.
if you go to Amazon, the subheading is Salman Rushdie was just the tip of the iceberg,
Yeah.
because he was just one of many for whom a fatwa was issued by the supreme leader of Iran. Many of them were killed.
Hmm.
So the Chain Diaries pays homage, if you like, to the people. It's named after the chain murders of Iran.
Okay.
How I came to write about it is a lot more long-winded,
Yes.
and we
I
may
would
be
want to
here for
hear.
an hour. I mean, I met a woman at Heathrow Airport, and it was 10 o'clock at night. She had 4 kids. She was struggling to get them off the plane. I'd flown in from Frankfurt. I'd just come back from Russia myself, and I asked her if she needed a hand with the kids. Long story short, I dressed the kids, or two of them. She dressed the other two, and I carried one through the airport as we were walking through Heathrow,
Hmm.
and I held the hand of another. She was going to spend the night on Liverpool Street Station with her children, between probably about 11:30 and 5:30 in the morning,
Hmm.
and she was going to catch a train the next day to Hull. And this is where serendipity comes in a big way. I had a hire car. It was a Ford Mondeo, so it's quite big,
Yep.
and I was going to Lincoln. It's about 50 miles south of Hull. And just on a whim, I said, I can take you.
Hmm.
So at 1:30 in the morning, I arrived at my house in Lincoln with a woman and 4 kids, and I introduced her to my wife,
Okay.
which was quite interesting at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
The lady got out of my car and used my house. We had a coffee. She used the toilet. But on the way up the A1, she had told me how she had escaped from an abusive relationship in Iran.
Okay. The abusive
She had got
relationship.
the kids out.
Okay.
Sorry.
The abusive relationship with whom?
She was married. She was
Yeah.
married to an Iranian guy.
Okay.
But the laws out there, there's a law called Tamkin. It means that the husband is financially liable to the wife, but the wife has to submit to his will, as
Hmm.
it were, in the household. Um, Forced sex and rape, if you like, is not permitted. But for a woman to try to go to court and prove it is problematical, especially for non-Iranian wives.
Hmm.
And she was an English woman. So, I mean, for her to try to get to London and then to Hull was a massive achievement. And she explained to me how she got the children out of Iran, and it wasn't easy. But
Hmm.
she ended up in my car, and I ended up dropping her off at Hull at, I think it was something like 3 o'clock in the morning on a dark bridge. And she got out of my car into her dad's car, and I never saw her again. I
Okay.
never spoke to her. I never heard from her again. This was in 1994.
Hmm.
Wind the clock forward, I found her business card in an old briefcase in 2019.
Like
So we're
25 years
talking
later.
25 years later.
Yeah.
And I started to put together in my head what eventually turned out to be the Chain Diaries. So because I hadn't done any writing before, I first wrote a screenplay.
Uh-huh.
Now, a screenplay, it's generally got 4 items in a screenplay. in general terms.
Hmm.
So you got location, action, character, dialogue,
Hmm.
and you just block it together in that aspect.
Okay.
I sent the screenplay to a competition in the States. Scriptapalooza was the name of the competition, and I've since found out that it's not a bad competition. It's not one of the many that you can get that
Mm.
amount to nothing. And I thought nothing of it. I just sent it off. I thought I might get some feedback. In June 2020, I got a notification that it had reached the semi-final,
Hmm.
and I couldn't be more over the moon. And then obviously I'm a newbie at screenwriting. There was a lot of work needed to do it to get it up to speed. It didn't go any further than semi-final, but believe you me, semi-final is
Yeah,
something else in my mind.
it is. It is.
And then I started to novelize it. I started to fill in the gaps because a screenplay generally is between 90 and 120 pages long,
Hmm.
and that's all. That's because a page equates to about a minute of film time, and producers like to keep the film time down. So for a newbie, you're looking at 90 pages, 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Mine was 120 pages long, so that may be another reason why it didn't progress further.
Hmm.
But I novelized it, and it was ready for publication in the summer of 22.
Hmm.
I went through all the hoops, and like you, I joined Michael Heppel's Write
Yes.
That Book masterclass, and I found it very, very useful. And yeah, I published it. I think it went out to print I sent it to the printers on the 5th of August, 2022. Now, 2022 was the year that Nazarene Zaghari Ratcliffe was released from Evin Prison after 5 years.
Yes.
2022 was also, and this has nothing to do with my book, Salman Rushdie was stabbed in Chattanooga, New York on
I
the 12th
remember.
of August.
Yeah.
My book was sent to the printers on the 5th of August. Now, I will say it was not released. My book will have absolutely nothing to do with the attack on Salman Rushdie. And then, of course, you got Mahsa Amini, the young girl who was killed for not wearing a hijab correctly.
Yes.
Or at
Yes.
least that is the claim. So 2022 was quite a significant year with regards to Iran in the news.
Hmm.
And that's really how the book came about.
Hmm. Okay. So there's a chain reaction to all of this. Never mind being called the Chain Diaries, it's definitely a chain reaction. I think what's really amazing, because I need to be a bit careful of time, so I want to ask you some other things. I think it's amazing that you found Angie's business card in your briefcase all those many years later. That actually sends goosebumps through me. It
I
really,
will say her name wasn't Angie.
yeah, the protagonist in your story.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that card that you found led you eventually to write the screenplay and to then novelize it and
Yes, it did.
publish it. And I believe you've had a lot of great reviews and you've been interviewed on the BBC as well.
BBC Radio Sussex.
Yeah.
I'm working my way to BBC Radio.
Radio 4 would be excellent if you do, actually, yes. So I want to ask you some things around the internal part of your story. Because it's set in Iran, because the protagonist Angie is fleeing with her 4 children, and I presume the children are very small still, like very young, under the age of 10 or so.
Oh,
In
the
the story.
children, yeah, the children
Yeah.
are. I think the maximum is 6. I've used the same age range as the children that
Mm.
the lady I helped had,
Yes.
except I had to. And in writing circles, they say you should kill your darlings. I had to kill off one of the children. It's not a nice thing to say, but it was just because of the writing it made sense to have 3 children rather
Yes.
than 4.
Yeah, I understand.
So in my book, there's 3 children. It made more sense. It was easier that way. She didn't have a buggy to lug around and that kind of thing.
All right. Okay. 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 So, because your story has got a military background, because it has this moral background, because of the dilemma of Angie in the book in Iran, about her being about imprisonment and all that goes on, how did writing the Chain Diaries help you process, or let's say, reframe your own experiences with international conflict and personal loss? because you were in the military, you were a party to a lot of things happened that might have created feelings for you. How did you manage all of that in writing the story as well?
I mean, I was in Dubai, as I say. I mean, I was there when the Iranian airliner got shot down in '88 by the USS Vincennes. And I mean, it, what it showed to me was the Iranians obviously treated us pretty badly, or they had less dealings with us in Dubai at that time. In terms of loss, I mean, I can't think of anything to say regarding that, to be honest. I mean, I wrote the book from the heart, as it were. Angie needed to get out of Iran. Her dad and his friend were both ex-Royal Marines. They helped her out. My trade within the Navy was an aircraft handler, and as such, we look after aircraft on flight decks, and we also deal with aircraft firefighting and that kind of thing. In terms of a fighting background in the Royal Navy, I didn't particularly have one.
Okay,
I did get to carry a gun in the Falklands, but that was
right.
as a needs must basis.
Okay, okay. So you weren't actually directly involved in any way with.
Oh no, no.
Okay, okay. So there is something about the story which comes up very strongly, and that's about morality. There's a lot about that, the way women are treated. And when you think about various other cultures, say the Middle East or even in India, where I come from, women were treated in a specific way that many women today, and the bravery of women in Iran, as an example, today is truly phenomenal when they are fighting against everything that they're told they cannot do, and they're willing to
Yes, oh,
pay the
definitely.
price. Yeah, they're absolutely willing to pay the price. It's from dancing in the streets, from smoking, from not wearing their hijab, from driving a car, all the things that they're not allowed to do, they are doing because they're determined to be themselves, to allow to be able to
They are,
live
yeah. I mean,
women
they're
around the
doing
world.
now what the suffragettes. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
doing now what the suffragettes did hundreds of years ago.
yeah, absolutely. So, while portraying Angie's actions, what sort of moral ambiguities did you wrestle with, or did you not, or did it just
Oh no,
flow?
no, no, no. There were definitely some moral ambiguities because I mean, let's make no bones about it. What Angie did and what the people helping her did was illegal.
Yeah.
The children belonged to Ben as much as they did to Angie.
Mm,
They were in Iran. They were in Iran. Those children were legally in Iran because her father took them there. Now, I mean, morally, maybe he should have talked to Angie about it before he took them, but he didn't. He fled to Iran.
mm,
The police were looking to interview him regarding a couple of incidents that happened in London the night or the weekend that he decided to go back to Iran. But it was illegal. But and this is where I mean I'm a father. If something happened to my children and they were suddenly thrown into a different world, or they were half a world away, illegally in my mind, I would want to go and get them back, and to hell with the consequences, as it
mm.
were.
Yeah,
And I think Angie says in the book, they can start World War III for all I care. I want my kids back.
yeah. She is, without doubt. I would say, okay, let's just, she's a mother. Her children have been taken away from her. She wants them back. She has the right because she's their mother. What she did to go from England to Iran, she must have known certain consequences that would happen to her if she was caught. And to get them out of Iran was not just brave, it was mother's love. But she would do whatever the
Oh
cost
yes,
to her. It was mother's love. At the same time, when you're in the story, the way you write the story, it really, I have to say it, you started the idea as a screenplay. It really does read like I'm watching a movie. I can imagine just reading it, the action of Angie with the children, her father, Tony, getting the children out of the way into the car, Ben pursuing them out in the desert. It's a really, really powerful story because all the way that when I read that very long piece that you sent me, all the way I was there, I was actually visualizing every action that was taking place. I picked up somewhere in what you're talking about, your writing style, that you wrote in a very simple way. You didn't feel the need to be flowery in any way. And I think that style, where it was very simple, straightforward, really suits the story. And I really think you have captured the very essence of the danger that Angie was in, what she had to go through to get the children out. Tell us a little bit more about the flight from Iran without giving away too much.
There is now there is one part within the book that is directly taken from the woman that I picked up at Heathrow.
Okay.
And that's the bit where she's packing, she's got the kids ready to leave, she's got a taxi arriving to take her to the bus depot. And then her mother-in-law turns up.
Oh, yes.
That bit she actually told me happened. And do you know what? I'm getting goosebumps. But yeah, I mean it was a real event. But then obviously Ben has got the military behind him, he's got the police behind him, he's got everybody searching for a woman and 3 children.
Hmm.
And again, I mean, it's on the front cover of the book. She dresses the kids in burqas,
Yes.
so that they look like girls.
Hmm.
And at one point, she confuses matters even more by buying a ticket for herself and 1 child, and then buying a ticket for her and 2 children, so that it looks like there's not a woman and 3 children at some point.
Yeah.
These are things you have to think about.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's one point where the police storm a bus. And I don't really want to go into too many
No,
details
no,
because
no, no,
obviously
don't give it away.
it'll a bit of a spoiler. But I mean, the whole process of driving south, north, again, I'm worried of giving things away
No,
really
no,
if
no,
someone
no,
picks the book up.
no.
But I mean, they do make their escape, and there are obviously implications when they do get back to England that Ben's not going to leave it there. It
Yeah.
turns out that this guy, it could be one of Iran's top hitmen responsible for the killings in the chain murders.
Yeah.
I mean, they had pilots that used to fly for the Shah killed in Berlin. They had Frankfurt. There was a guy killed in Frankfurt. A bloke went up behind him with a pistol and just took him out because it was an expat from Iran. He used to work for the Shah, and the supreme leader put a fatwa on his head, sent out a team of people. Most of the killings, nobody has found out who's responsible.
Hmm.
At one point, they did find a scapegoat, and I will use that word. And he was in prison, and then he died by suicide.
Hmm.
How convenient.
Yeah. How convenient. Yeah. I think your story is not just going to be a success. I think it's going to be a phenomenal success. I think the way that you have blended the story that you heard together with the fictional elements of the fiction story, the actual issues involved, which are not going to go away for a very long time. I think you've written a very, very powerful story. One last question I'd like to ask you is, in blending the historical facts, meaning the story that you'd heard before, and the atrocities with the fictional rescue mission, how did you balance the truth of what had happened, the sensitivity, and the narrative drive of the story to bring it all together?
I mean, apart from that incident at the house where the mother-in-law shows up, the rest of the story is a total work of fiction. It is not. It is not. And I've never given this lady's name away. Nobody knows. In fact, I've shredded the business card because I didn't want anybody to get hold of it in
Yeah,
my absence.
yeah,
And I will never give her name away. If it turns out she hears of the book and she sees the back of the book where I've actually written down the story of how I come to write it,
mm,
and contacts me through my website, and she gives permission, then I would as far as I'm concerned, then the name is out there, but I
yeah,
will never divulge that name.
no,
But the whole story itself is a work of fiction. I had to think things through. Originally, it was just going to be Ben was a misogynist, and it was going to be that. I tripped over the Chain Diaries or the Chain Murders, sorry,
mm,
purely by accident. and it just made the book so much more interesting. And her diaries lead the security service that are looking for him towards him, because and they lead, and that's why eventually the Iranian embassy turn around and say, listen, you've got to go back to Iran. We're not going to have our actions questioned in this country or anywhere else.
Mm.
And so yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the story is nothing to do with this lady. That was the spark, the
Yeah.
seed, if you like.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes that one spark creates such a powerful story
Oh
for
yeah.
us to actually then sit somewhere in a corner, curl up, especially at Christmas, and read. So I would just like to ask you, where will this story now take you? Now that you finished the Chain Diaries, what's the next one? What's going to happen after this? You can't just leave it hanging. There must be more to it.
I deliberately left the ending of the book in such a way that it leads on to a sequel.
Yeah.
Now, my book was released in 22. My wife got to see her face on the back cover.
Okay.
It's her picture on the back cover.
All right.
The sequel, I've been requested to do a sequel because people have read the book, they've got to the end, and it didn't quite end how they expected it to.
Hmm.
And so that's where the sequel picks up. Now, I have 80,000 words
Okay.
already.
Yeah.
I'm looking to do about 130,000 before I edit it down.
Mm-hmm.
The Chain Diaries started off at 148,000 words.
Hmm.
If you Google the size of a novel, it's 80 to
Yes.
120,000 words.
Yes.
So I, I having 80,000, I think I'm sort of like three-quarters of the way there, if you like.
Yep.
Um, I believe the Chain Diaries has pretty much run its course as far as I can go on. I took on board Michael's request that everybody increase their team size, their tribe, I think he
Hmm.
called it,
Yes, that's right.
and that means using social media to promote your book, and that's not me. I think I mentioned before, I'm 68 years old. That's for younger people. I'll let them do it. I'm quite happy for people to word of mouth mention my book. If they like it, they buy it. I was on a cruise recently. I met some lovely Australian ladies. One of them bought two books there and then,
Yeah.
and they were ready for her when she got back to Australia. And I sold another one to a guy. He said, I want it for a friend of mine. And I wrote on a post-it note so he could put it in the book when he got home. I mean, I'm quite happy for that. However, I am quite keen to get the sequel on the road. My wife died in 23.
Mm-hmm.
My brother died early this year. My younger brother,
Mm-hmm.
and I had three brothers, and we used to do everything: golf, football. Um, my mum's gone into permanent care now. She went in April this year.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I start and I sit down to start typing, my mind goes elsewhere. And within 5 minutes, I'm watching Cats and Cucumbers.
Right. Okay.
And it's just a difficult process. I had so many people say to me, "We need to see the sequel,"
Mm.
and I will work on it. It's just taking its time now.
Yes, and sometimes it's better to just stop and not write because this is
Yes,
the
yeah,
thing. There's been so much upheaval in your life, emotional upheaval, that I don't think you can really and truly be your best self when you're in that state. So yeah, just chill out, let Christmas go, the new year come, something will suddenly happen and you will start writing again. Yeah,
yeah. I think you're right, Beth, and it's something I've just got to. I mean, I wouldn't say it's even writer's block. I don't sit at the keyboard contemplating what I'm going to put down on paper. It's not, I sometimes think, no, I just haven't got it in me at the moment.
yeah,
And we'll see how that goes.
sure.
Every now and again on my phone, I use the Notepad app,
Yes.
and I will hear things. I mean, they always say to you, a writer should always have a notebook in his back
Mhm.
pocket, in her back pocket, and you jot things down.
Yes. Yeah.
And I use my phone for that. It's easy enough to do. You can use the text to speak,
Mm.
um,
Sure.
or you speak into your phone and it recite. It can. I forget what they call it now.
So let me ask you, because I had a conversation as we're coming to the end with another lady who's written 6 books, And she says, but I don't feel like an author. So one question I want to ask you is, what has writing this book actually done for you? If, because we do have listeners. A lot of people want to write, they don't always know how to start. But now you've completed a really big topic in a really well written and well sequenced story. You've really taken us on a journey through the story, a journey filled with so many areas of philosophical thoughts that happen in our lives. But what has it done for you personally?
You know what? For me, it's more about, I think it's a bucket list item.
Okay.
I mean, they say everybody's got a novel in them. Oh, everybody's got a book in them. It doesn't have to be a novel. Um, I mean, I've got a book in the British Library. I mean, that's pretty cool, right?
Yes, I saw I have as well. I love that.
That's not through choice either.
No, but it doesn't matter. That's for
No,
posterity.
I've got one in the Welsh and the Irish and the Scottish library too.
That's right.
But for me, it was a bucket list item. I mean, I've been on the radio. I've had interviews in the press. I mean,
Yeah.
those kind of things, they do elevate you to a certain standard. I mean, I don't consider myself to be a Frederick Forsyth or Robert Ludlum. Probably a couple of my favourite authors. I mean, I don't particularly consider myself to be an author, although I've written a book. It's out there. People can comment on it.
So, Steve, thank you for that. Thank you for coming on and chatting with me. Thank you for the opportunity to hear more about your story. And for all the listeners who've listened to this video and this audio, this podcast, I really hope that you will take the time to go onto Amazon, where you can find Steve Scarlett's book, The Chain Diaries. Please do read it. I think you are going to be in for a really excellent surprise in terms of a story. Buy it before Christmas because you have an opportunity for a few days to curl up somewhere in a corner of your house or in your bed, stay in bed all day, read the book. It's really worth reading.
It's quite
So
thick, mind.
it doesn't matter about that, Steve. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Steve, for coming onto this podcast and sharing your time with all of us. And once again, Steve's book is available on Amazon as well as through your website or just on Amazon.
No, it's just on Amazon. I don't have a pay per thing, but there's a button on my website that will
Yes,
take you to a link that's got UK on it.
yes,
It's also got Australia because, I mean, if you put a link to Amazon on your website, you must also put links to other countries, because if someone in Australia tries to buy it and you've only given them the English link or
yes,
the British link,
yeah,
they can't buy it.
yeah. Okay, that's a great piece of information. Thank you, because I didn't even know that. So I really learned something today. So thank you once again, everybody, and see you very soon in about another week when we will have another author whose name I'm not going to be mentioned just yet, but I hope you will like her stories as well. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye, and goodbye from Steve Scarlett.
Beth, thanks very much.
Thank you. And please do, when you watch the podcast, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I'd really appreciate that. It gets indie authors' voices out into the bigger world. Thank you and goodbye, everybody. And a very happy Christmas to those who I may not talk to again. Bye for now.